Hi everyone, this is Jill from the James L. Hamner Public Library in Amelia County, Virginia. If you are watching this, with me today is Mr. Victor Haskins, who is an artist in the Richmond area. So he is going to talk about one of his more recent presentations, recent as of this recording. That leads us into the topic of talking about death, specifically the death of Black people. So we don't say anything particularly graphic, but we do talk about the subject and we don't dance around things either. So use your own discretion about where you listen to this or watch this. There are no images beyond people, Victor and I, talking. So, without any further introduction, other than to say, as always, when the library has a presentation, whether it's in the library building or online like this, however the format is, the library is not taking a position and saying one way is right or another way is wrong. We are fulfilling our mission by providing people the opportunity to interact with ideas, and then from there it's up to the listener or the viewer to decide what to do with those ideas. So, as always, a standard disclaimer, any opinions belong to Victor and myself and are not necessarily representative of the library's official position. Now, without any further introduction, let's talk to Victor. Yeah, so Victor, you have, I guess, it's sort of music, it's sort of art, there's dance. You did something recently with Inlight in Richmond, which I saw, and it's like this whole various levels of art combined together. But at the end of it, you said something that I thought made a lot of sense, and you can say, explain what you said, but what I remember out of it is you said something like Black death is not entertainment, which seems like a concept that would be really good to talk about. So do you want to talk a little bit about where you're coming from and, what you mean, and we can go from there?
Sure. So the presentation that I created was with my multidisciplinary art unit called Improvistory, and so it's a concept that mixes, it's sound driven and it's improvisational, in that we are composing kind of specific motions or actions or ideas in real time, and we're doing it interactively amongst ourselves, myself and the dancers in this particular performance, which were the parties that are collaborating. And the subject of the presentation was drawing comparisons between post-Civil War and Jim Crow era lynchings of Black folks in America with modern day police murders of Black folks, and kind of showing the similarities of the legality of the destruction of Black bodies. And specifically, one thing that is a through line is the concept of lynching, where vigilante justice is meted out to Black bodies by, at least after the Civil War, and of course before the Civil War and during the Civil War, in the early part of the 1900s, it was mostly white people doing this to Black people, and of course the people who are doing the lynching, actually killing these Black people, no justice. I mean, in very few cases was any kind of justice conferred upon those people. And similarly, when police officers do similar things of killing Black folks, and of course I say police officers, it's not necessarily just white police officers, it's the institution of the police are doing this. And it's also not necessarily just against Black people, but the issue is, the whole purpose of lynching was it's terrorism. It's done as a very public event, a public killing of a Black person, and it's done in a very public place. So it's and they'd be left hanging in whatever tree they might have been burned in, or whatever the method of death and murder that they decided to use, that was a sign to other Black people, like, know your place in society. And so this kind of through line continues when you see people get killed, Black people get killed on camera. I guess in a certain sense, now there's evidence. Not that there wasn't before. Now there's video evidence. I mean, obviously, this is something that Black people have known for a very long time, but certain segments of society don't necessarily want to believe it or don't want to see it, because it was easier to not see something as horrendous as that, to realize, like, oh, yes, a branch of the government is causing this terrible thing to happen to Black people. And so now, because of the way that Black death is portrayed, it's very similar. I'm just like, the whole presentation is kind of drawing these similarities between the legal destruction of Black lives and how it is broadcast.
So something I remember from the presentation was you had, I guess, a reproduction of a postcard from the early or mid 1900s, and then, like, if I'm thinking about that, and then I'm thinking about the videos that we see of current violence, is that kind of the connection that you're making, that it's just a different technology but the same intent?
I think it can operate that way. I certainly can't say the intent of whoever is posting whatever, because I'm not them, but I just can see and draw patterns and see the connection between, well, this is a Black person who was killed in a very public way, and now we have the same thing in a different sense, and no justice was given to those people who caused this person's death at this point in time. And similarly, there's other protections, other reasons that this person who's caused this Black death in the modern age is not being prosecuted or punished or whatever it is, whatever the retribution is.
Okay. When people watch the videos, there could be various reasons why they watch it. So at what point do you think it goes from being informed to becoming entertainment?
I think you'd have to define entertainment. What do you mean by entertainment? What constitutes entertainment to you?
Watching something so that you feel like that you fit in with people.
Oh.
Or just because you're bored and this is the most interesting thing, sort of on the, I don't know if salacious is the right word, but the way that people will watch things that they would never do, but there's some kind of excitement in watching things that are forbidden.
Oh, like a sort of like voyeurism.
Yeah. But also, I think sometimes people will watch things that they might not be interested on their own because, like, everybody's talking about it, so they want to be part of that. Maybe, I don't know if community is the right word, but it's a form of community when everybody's posting about the same thing, or the news is constantly talking about something, and if you've never seen the video that they referred to on some way, maybe you feel a little left out, and so you would watch something that you normally wouldn't.
Interesting. I'm not really sure if I'm not sure if I necessarily can relate to that. I think that's interesting, that just even that explanation there, because that's not how I thought of it. And actually, that's what you're describing maybe is maybe one of many reasons why I had a reason for creating this presentation. The art presentation that you saw initially is just like, as a Black person who understands the history of this nation and like the way America has been founded, the way America has worked, it impacts me a certain way to see Black people be killed, and to all these incidents of lynching, of discrimination, and understanding these things in the greater historical context, it's not, I would never think of the videos of anyone being murdered, and by the police no less, to be something that I need to watch to be included in a conversation. If anything, it's the emotional impact that it has is it's going to be different than someone who doesn't see themselves necessarily in the images that are being captured on the video. So and something I said around that statement where I talked about Black Death not being entertainment, I was saying I challenge people to see if you can find any publicly widely circulated videos of people who are not Black being killed by the police or being killed at all, and seeing lifeless white bodies lying on the ground. Like you don't see that, and there's a reason you don't see that. It's an interesting phenomenon to look at some of these videos as I was doing research for the presentation, of course, that I'm having to watch these videos and kind of and study them and like understand everything that's going on, and reading evidence that's been presented in different court cases where Black people have been murdered by police. And it's interesting to look in the comments section of any of these videos and seeing people argue about how the Black person who has been killed in the video was or was not complicit to various degrees in their own murder by police. And that's like the amount of numbness that has to be present in people on a social level, like how numb have we become to such a thing. I mean, when the massacre happened at Sandy Hook, they didn't show video or of all these dead children's bodies. You know, there was, why not? Do we need proof of that? Even though there's conspiracy theorists who are like, Sandy Hook didn't happen. You know, like, do we really need the evidence? Do we not really believe it? Do we not believe that what's happening has just been happening for decades, for hundreds of years? Like this kind of, I don't know. I'm if people need to feel included, they have to like kind of look at their own humanity and see like this isn't like a game. This isn't a trend. This is real life that's happening, you know, and it affects people emotionally. It affects because you see what's going on. You see what message does that send that this would be so heavily viewed or shown or available. I'm not the one posting the things or whatever, so I can't tell what exactly the intent is. Once again, all I can do is draw conclusions from my experience with the material, with understanding historical context, and that's why I made the presentation that I made, because I feel like if it could be articulated with words, then I would just give a speech about it. But I think it'll be more impactful to show maybe a glimpse from like how this appears in my own imagination. And when the original presentation of this done, the first iteration of the American Way was performed, it was last year in August for a room full of white educators in the Anne Arundel school system. And I didn't know that's who the audience was going to be. But it was clearly a perspective that most of them had not necessarily considered because they're white. They're not like, even like the perspective you just brought up. That's never crossed my mind that people are going to feel left out. They don't see this Black person get killed like everyone else is talking about. Like, what kind of sick person is thinking of it that way? But like, do people know that that's actually kind of sick, that they want to be a part of a talking point conversation? Like, are you going to do something about it, or are you watching it just so you can say, oh yeah, I saw him get killed, that was terrible? But like, it's like expected. Like, I'm sure, or maybe I don't know, but I'm not sure if people who watch this who are not Black feel like, oh, that could happen to me. They probably don't necessarily think that, because you don't see images of that happening, and historically you don't see that kind of incident occur. to a certain group of people, but you see it happening to black people over and over. I mean, that's why there's a clip of that Richard Pryor bit in there where it's like he's talking about that in the 70s, and it's just like he's talking about police killing black people with the chokehold, and like white people. He even says white people going, "What are they talking about?" It's like all black people know what's going on. Like, how is this? People are completely ignorant at one point, and then people who are being affected by it are completely in the know. So there's kind of I don't know. I don't know. I think that's a questionable aspect of people's humanity, that Black Death is a thing that is like a trendy thing. It's like a trend, and like I guess social media would make it that way, but that's part of the problem. I mean, police brutality is a problem, but also devaluing Black life by showing the legal destruction of Black life being so commonplace is also part of the problem.
If somebody, like, if the video is taken and it gets posted, then it's like, if people don't watch it, what does that mean? But if people do watch it and then it just gets circulated like the latest cat video, well, that means something else. So what are your thoughts on, like, social media, and it brings a whole level that, like, when things were just in a newspaper, maybe was not there?
Sure. What are you asking in relation to that?
I'm just, like, I could see somebody saying, okay, I don't want to be part of the problem of making this just something we watch as casually as we watch the latest cat video, so I'm not going to watch this. Or I could see somebody else taking the position of, well, this is important. This person's life mattered. This is part of history. This is part of the current conversation. So I am going to watch it. And whatever their reasons for watching it or the results of watching it, who knows? That would vary person by person. So, like, what are your thoughts on the impact it would have? For example, if somebody recorded one of these videos, posted it, and nobody watched it, compared to the ones that go viral? Like, what is the social impact, do you think? Or theorize, I guess. We wouldn't know, but theorize.
I don't know if I can really speak to that necessarily. I mean, all I can speak to is like what I have experienced when I have remember seeing the first video that I wasn't intending to see because autoplay, of course, was on my Facebook, whatever, and then seeing Eric Garner be murdered. I don't know what the social impact is. Yeah, I really don't know. That's not, I can't really project for that.
Yeah, it's hard to project out, but I'm just thinking through, like, I mean, I don't know either. I don't have answers. And like I said in the introduction, the library is not trying to convince anybody one way or the other, but just throwing thoughts out for listeners and viewers to think about. What would it be like if none of these videos ever made it online?
Probably a decent sector of society would still be woefully ignorant of what's going on in the country in which they live. I mean, the only other way you know about it is if you were experiencing it or if you were connected to people or communities where it was happening. Otherwise, you'd think that everything's going great in America.
You don't think it would get reported in the general news? And again, you have no way of knowing, just...
Yeah, I mean, I can only go by, the big deal about the Rodney King incident, the fact that that was caught on camera. That was like one of the first instances of police brutality caught on camera, where it's like, this is something that happens, and that was probably one of the first big things that blew up because of something being recorded.
I I'm asking big questions here that there are no answers to.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'd rather not speak to something that I don't really have.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't like necessarily like to play the what if game.
What do you think the benefit to the videos are?
Suppose it makes it real for people to whom it might not seem real without that kind of hard evidence of it happening, of police brutality happening, of wrongdoing that is essentially sanctioned by the government by not being punished in a lot of cases. I guess that would be the only like benefit. If you can say that someone's death being broadcast is a beneficial thing.
Would you prefer that people not post the videos?
I can't really say what my preference is. If the videos cause some kind of positive change in the outcomes that we keep seeing happen, then I think that's a positive thing, but that's all we can really hope for.
What kind of change would you like to see?
Police brutality not happening.
That's reasonable. I don't know if people make this argument, but I could extrapolate from some other comments I've heard on other subjects that somebody might think that watching this video is a way to honor the person who died because, in a way, you're giving witness to what has happened. What are your thoughts on that concept? And I think we do understand that you're only speaking for yourself. I would not expect you to speak for anybody who's not you.
Sure. The people who die in these cases, whether they're filmed or not, they're people, and I'm sure these people's families and the people who care about these people and knew them on an intimate level don't need to see their final moments where their lives are snuffed out. I'm not sure how I don't know, that wouldn't be why I would watch a video. I wouldn't want to watch a video of someone being killed, period. I'm not sure how that isn't. I wouldn't watch a video of someone being killed to honor them. I wouldn't want people to watch videos of me being killed to honor me necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's I guess that's someone's angle on it. I wouldn't do it for that reason.
Yeah. And there's also the thought that, I mean, if you're alone watching this video, I mean, usually when you're honoring someone, that has to be done in community. Otherwise, what does it mean? Would be my thought on it. Maybe. And here I am talking myself out of it in the other direction, too.
Honoring someone, I think, can be done in a private way. I don't think everything that is done has to be done in a public nature. I mean, there is certainly a community aspect that can come from honoring someone publicly with other people. I guess that's probably a personal thing, how someone chooses to honor someone else or the memory of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe that speaks to the nature of just like everything being done publicly. Maybe that's like a function of social media where people feel like everything needs to be very public, very outward, versus maybe introspective and thinking about what does this mean to me. Yeah, I feel like, for instance, as a result of experiencing the emotions related to police brutality and the destruction of Black bodies, I decided to do something by making this the presentation the American way. That was my way of responding to it and trying to reach people in a certain way with a certain perspective, to create hopefully some other kind of change by putting that energy and those ideas out there in that particular way. So maybe what something constructive people can do is figure out, what can I do with my talents and abilities or positioning or whatever to stop things like this from happening. Mm-hmm. And once again, like I say in that particular, what can I do? Because everyone isn't necessarily in a position to be able to attend a protest or a march or, but people have different kinds of skills and different kinds of things that they can do that might be specific to them because of some kind of influence they have, or in my case, some kind of skill or that I have, or some kind of vision that I have, to be able to create something to influence other people. I think that's maybe the most constructive thing that can happen as a result of these videos, is for people to, if they choose to watch them, be motivated to do something and not just say, oh, that's sad, because that doesn't do anything for anyone to say, oh, that's sad, oh, that's terrible. I mean, and doing that publicly at best is virtue signaling, and we don't need any more of that. We need people doing things like do something about it. If it was so terrible, do something about it, you know.
What do you hope people will do after seeing your presentation?
Honestly, I hope that people who might view it or watch it will think about what it is that they specifically can do, and that will take some proactive effort to do some research into, maybe there's some organization you can work with and support somehow within your community, or somewhere you can donate money to some kind of organization that's doing that kind of work to prevent further police brutality or other legal destructions of Black bodies. Yeah, I think that's the main thing, is people looking within and saying, what can I do? And then going to find that answer. Because what I'm going to do is different from what someone else might do, because my skill set is different and how I go about living my life is different. So I think people, if you're moved by a presentation, you should figure out what can you do. You should figure that out. What can you do to make things better?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is an action point that is worth thinking about, because it's very easy to say, well, I can't do this and I can't do that, and I'm not in a position to do that but you're saying, well, what can you do? And then do what you can. Is that right?
Absolutely. And like, make it more than just something you talk about with people, something you go educate yourself, go be connected to communities that are affected by this kind of violence, this kind of political affliction. Yeah, you kind of have to go do those things. You have to go be where it's happening. You have to go connect with people. You have to go talk to people. There has to be, I don't know, people just have to do something. It has to be something that's more than just something that is a talking point, as something to, oh, did you hear about the latest thing? Oh, yes. Yeah, it has to go farther than that. Like, take some action. That's all I can really say, is like, everyone, you have to figure out what you can do, and chances are what you can do is a whole lot more than what you think you can't do. But you have to, like, intentionally do it, because it doesn't get done unless people step up and decide, I'm going to do this action. And, you have to go find information. I mean, I'm constantly reading books and doing research on different histories within the United States and globally, to figure out what are the impact of things that have happened in history, and how does that connect to today. And that's part of my process for what I do in the work that I undertake as an artist, as someone who can do that. I have a certain thing that I can do that other people can't do necessarily. And so I'm going to do that because that's like a special power that I have to do that. Everyone kind of has like a special power or talent or thing that they can do. It's just a matter of deciding what that is and applying it and trying to learn as much as possible and know as much as possible so you can make informed actions. That's what people can do.
So it sounds like you're suggesting that people be very thoughtful and take action based on who they are and what their specific situation is, which is a different suggestion than find out what's popular and go do that.
Sure. I mean, but yeah, I'm not really sure what is even like what would be popular. I'm not. I mean, that depends on what circles that you have to be in, and so I don't spend a whole lot of time on social media.
I don't either.
Or so I don't see a lot of things necessarily, but there are ways to find things out if you once again want to go see those things and find those things. I think it's easy enough for people to be insular in their communities and maybe not reach across, because that's kind of how we are here, is because people don't think that things are happening outside of their bubble, or maybe once again they don't want to see it because it's easier to not see something like that than to have to live with it and realize that this is a real thing that happens and happens near you maybe, or so it's a matter of people wanting to go do something about it. It's not going to get done on your way to do something else. You have to kind of go out of your way to do it.
Yeah, and it sounds like each person, it's going to look a little bit different because of where they are and who they are. Probably. Is there anything else you'd like to say on any of these topics or anything related?
I don't think I have anything at the moment.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts. You're very thoughtful as always. Thank you for taking the time to think through these things and go public with them because, well, you know as well as I do what happens when you can make things public or what can potentially happen. So thank you for taking that risk and sharing your thoughts with us.
Sure. Well, I mean, the presentation that I created is certainly publicly viewable, intentionally so. I mean, I hope people will take the time to maybe check that out and see how they feel about that and what thoughts arise from experiencing that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Joe.
Listeners, thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts about what you would like us to have on this YouTube channel, please send those to connections@hamnerlibrary.org. If you would like to listen to the audio version, this is on our podcast, Connections, which is available on most of the major podcast listening apps. Until next time, keep learning.